Hi guys, this is AJ Pipe from Reflect Marketing, and I'm going to talk today about something I'm pretty sure most of you would have talked about, normally over a bottle of wine. Who would you invite to dinner, if you could, dead or alive? 5 people. So who would be the 5 people that you would probably invite, like I said, dead or alive, who you could have a really good evening with? So, I'll obviously share mine. First, Tim Minchin. Now, if you've seen some of my videos before, I mentioned him when we were talking about music. He is a genius in my eyes. He's a comedian who's got fantastic musical ability. I will put a link in the details and you can judge for yourself. If you have any musical background, you will appreciate him so much. So he will be the first. He's a fantastic Aussie comedian and he will liven things up a bit, I think. So, yeah. First guest, Tim Minchin. Second guest, dead, I'm afraid, Benjamin Franklin. Been dead a while, I'm not gonna lie. Now, I'm not American. I'm a Brit. So it's got nothing to do with patriotic or anything along those lines. But he was a genius. He's There's a couple of quotes that I had up on my wall at my old house. And the one that stood out the most was from him saying, "Never leave that till tomorrow, which you can do today." And it was just this guy sort of invented electricity, and it's kind of like you would think that we would listen to someone like that. In the 200 years ago, he came up with concepts that seem normal to us now, but were not in existence before him. And if he's going to give you some advice, listen to it. So I'll invite him and try and absorb as much as I could. My third guest would be Paul McKenna, because to absorb all that information, I would want to know how to remember it all, and he can hypnotise me and help me remember everything that I'm absorbing from around the room. But he's got some fantastic thoughts and everything as well. I've read a few of his books, and I mean, and one of his hypnosis, he's got hypnosis discs, and on one of them, it was telling a story about a fisherman, and this fisherman took a millionaire, a very very wealthy businessman, out on a fishing trip, and this billionaire basically said to him, I'm going to tell you the secret of how to get rich. And the fisherman was like, oh, okay. And the millionaire was a bit taken back because, normally if someone tells you the formula to succeed, you'd expect them to be all ears. But anyway, he continued anyway and said, "So what you're going to do, you're going to double your prices." And the fisherman's gone, "Well, why?" And again, the millionaire was a bit taken back, but he continued. "Because then, you can buy another boat, and you do a good product, and you're undervaluing yourself, and you can get yourself another boat." And he's like, "Okay." And then the millionaire continued, and he's like, "Well, then you can advertise, and you can get more boats, and you can have a whole fleet of boats." And he's like, "Okay." And the millionaire was still quite taken back. And he said, he's gone, "And then what?" And he said, "Well, then you could obviously spend your days relaxing and doing what you enjoy doing." The fisherman lied back in his chair with his fishing rod and said, I think that kind of points out, that if you're doing something that you enjoy now, maybe you're already succeeding. So that was, I loved that little anecdote. And there was another one about, a guy on a fishing, on a ship, and the captain of the ship, no one can fix this problem. There's a problem, the boat's not working, no one can fix it. So this guy comes out in his little dinghy, and he goes to a pipe, taps the pipe with a hammer, and everything starts working again. And he's charged him $1,000. And the captain said, "Why is it $1,000?" And it just said he then wrote an invoice. $1 for hitting the pipe with a hammer, $999 for knowing where to hit the pipe. And I just thought, yep, that's valuing your knowledge, right? So obviously, obviously if he can put the concepts like that together, he's allowed around the dinner table. I'll cook. So my fourth guest is a guy I actually had to research for this because I'm interested in notic science. Now, it's a really, really large concept to try and explain, but it's kind of that your thought has mass, and therefore you have to be very careful what you're thinking because it's already got added value just from you thinking it. So anyway, he's the founder of this concept, but he was an Apollo 14 astronaut, and so I could pick his brains for lots of things. I can pick his brains, obviously, all in to do with the notic science, which I find fascinating. But also, he's seen the world in a completely different way that we're ever gonna see it. I mean, there's photos and everything else, but I think first-hand experience and first-hand knowledge has got to be the best thing. So yeah, Edgar Mitchell would be my fourth, and my final one, also sadly not with us, is Madam C.J. Walker. Now, I'm not sure. Some people have probably heard of the name, but don't really know much about her. She's again deceased. She died at 51 years of age, which is obviously not old at all. But she was the first self-made female millionaire ever, and she was an African American woman, the first generation born out of slavery. So her parents were slaves, and she wasn't, and she basically made millions by sorting out her own problems. Her hair was falling out. It was quite a common thing back in the day for African American women's hair to fall out because they had bad scalps and everything else. And she invented shampoo, which I think most of us would pretty much class that we use right now. And yeah, she obviously did very, very well doing that. She married, changed her name, remarried, and everything else. But I think fighting everything that she had to fight to be the first self-made female millionaire would be a fascinating story to hear straight from the horse's mouth. So I think it might be a long, long night. I think a few bottles of wine might have to be gone through. I'll cook steak and I'll make a cheesecake. But I think it would be a really, really fascinating evening. And I think all of them together would just be weird and worth being a part of. So those are my five, dead and alive. What would your five be, and why? What would I know a lot of people would invite the chef and some would invite the singer, and then you can have a good old shindig. So yeah, who would you invite? Let me know in the comment box, and I will put, like I said, the Tim Minchin link for anyone who wants to have a spy of him in the description box. Bye guys.